You're going to smell Krishna's lotus feet. Smell like lotus, okay. If the lotus feet must smell like lotus. Has anyone here smelled lotus flowers? I have. In Calcutta, we used to have 144 lotus flowers every day. And I detected 6 different scents in them. They were big like this. Big, 6 different kinds of smells. Lotus flower, okay. What else could they smell like? There's other things that they could smell like as well.
Honey?
Honey, maybe. Other things are there. Think. What else do we find at Krishna's lotus feet? Tulsi, very good. We can smell, they smell like tulsi. They're always covered with tulsi leaves. And chandan. Chandan. If you're a pujari, you know the answer to these questions. Chandan, tulsi, and lotus, because they're lotus feet. Okay? So, how can we smell through the ears? When we get spiritual ears. But here it says through sound, So just imagine if somebody describes some very nice smelling flower, then you can remember that smell and you can smell it actually. Even though you may not be physically smelling it, by hearing the experience, you can remember the experience of smelling different things. Mm-hmm.
When you were describing this Gajendra, how he was entering this lake, the Trikuta mountain, and this what is it called? Anyway, like the flowers and the pollen from the flowers.
Oh, the pollen was in there. Yeah.
So it's like when you hear this, then your mind goes to...
Yeah. My mind goes to the pollen, I'll sneeze, you know. But no, lotus flowers are amazing. Yeah, so this is what's happening. It's Prabhupada's mercy we can smell Krishna's lotus feet through our ears. Sometimes we hear about seeing the Lord through the ears. But this is a very extraordinary verse. Now we're smelling. So the ears are so wonderful for spiritual life. You can smell, you can see, you can hear, everything through the ears. And this is our wonderful Bhagavatam explaining these things. The senses are interchangeable. We can, in the spiritual world, we can actually experience this. We can even eat through our eyes. It's described Krishna eats through his eyes, eats through his ears. We can too, when we get our spiritual senses. Not yet, don't try it. Not now, we cannot do that. But in the future, when we get our spiritual body, then all of these things will happen for us. So, the purport Prabhupada says that there is a lotus in our hearts. And everybody has this lotus. And it's meant for the Lord to sit on. So when the Lord comes to our ears, when we hear He comes, it sits on the lotus of our hearts. And Prabhupada said that the Lord does not wish to be separated from the lotus hearts of pure devotees. And so this is, Prabhupada had Krishna in his lotus heart. And that's why he could spread this Krishna consciousness. I don't remember if I told this story, I'll repeat it again, of Burijan, who had a relationship with Srila Prabhupada, had much association with him. And when first time he went inside the deity room and was with the deities, he felt the same thing that he felt when he was in the presence of Srila Prabhupada. When he was in the deity room, then he understood, oh, Srila Prabhupada has Krishna in his heart. Because wherever was Prabhupada, then you had that feeling of that you're in the spiritual world. And so that's why Prabhupada was so attractive to everyone. Okay, here's another question. What quality of Prabhupada is attractive to you? Now we're doing the 50th anniversary, so we'll start a little early. Mm-hmm.
His intelligence.
His intelligence, oh yes. Okay. Any other qualities? Yes.
It's compassion for all the fallen souls.
Compassion for all the fallen souls. Okay. Yes?
His courage.
His courage. Imagine.
Try.
Age of 70. Taking a boat ride across the Atlantic with nothing. Yeah.
He's speaking the truth no matter what.
Speaking the truth no matter what. Very good. Very good. speaking the truth no matter what. Yes, yes. Yes.
His amazing potency to encourage somebody.
Yeah. He empowered us, he encouraged us, yes.
Prabhupada always had the right answer at the right time.
He always had the right answer at the right time. The reporters couldn't win. No way. No matter what they asked, he talked them. They were speechless. He couldn't answer his yes?
And his loyalty to his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati.
His loyalty.
Yeah, and surrender.
Loyalty to his spiritual master, yes. Yes?
Is a child like this in his innocence?
His innocence, yeah. He was very innocent. So I just got inspired to ask another question. Oh, yes, one more.
Was fully surrendered on Krishna.
Fully surrender to Krishna. Okay. Since it's ISKCON 50, now this might be a hard question for you all. What quality of ISKCON attracts you? Now I see people laughing and speechless, but yes.
Devotee association.
Devotees
Yes.
Association, yes.
I also say that.
Devotee Association, yes.
One thing that attracted me was in the beginning I was listening very much to the radio. I was attracted to the philosophy and then also to I could hear that the devotees there had like a lot of joy together. They were making some funny radio shows.
Oh, they were making funny radio
One
shows.
thing I was attracted to is that the sincerity
Okay, the sincerity and the humor and the joy. All right, yeah?
I just think that Prabhupada is ISKCON, and so
Okay.
even though sometimes it's difficult where you can feel like the baby is kicking you or but still it is like not different from Prabhupada, so there must be a purpose behind everything that
Okay.
happens.
This gun doesn't always go the way you want it to go, but neither does life. And so yes, okay. And sometimes we get kicked and sometimes we get praised. But it's just a token reaction to what we deserve. Okay, any other one? Yes.
Suitable vehicle for a suitable vehicle
Suitable vehicle.
for attaining Krishna consciousness.
Retaining Krishna consciousness. Okay, good. We are finding some good qualities in this one. It's always nice to hear. Very good qualities. So now, for tomorrow, at this point, I'm giving you a little homework assignment. Nothing to write, don't worry. Just to see the world in a different way. And since the theme is mercy, I want you to look for mercy. How is the mercy coming to you tomorrow and tonight? We have a whole day, 2 days before our next class. So tomorrow and Friday you can look for mercy. How is it coming to you? And report on Friday night for the class. You already have some mercy coming? No. So let's get some ideas what to look for. So we can already think of our lives now. How is mercy coming to us now? How do we get, what kind of mercy is coming? And then we can give, if somebody doesn't know what to look for, then we can give them some ideas what to look for. So anybody can give some ideas, what kind of mercy, what to look for.
To be able to serve.
To be able to serve.
To the Prabhupada Krishna.
Okay, I think you'll get a lot of chance tomorrow. It's gun 50, yes.
A little selfish maybe, but prasadam.
Prasadam mercy. Okay, that will keep you here.
Definitely.
That will keep you here, yes. I commented today, I said, yes, it has much improved since the last year. Since previous years, the prasadam, and that's probably why you joined here. Yeah, it's prasadam, that's a good mercy to look for. And there's no hard and fast rules for prasadam. Uh-huh.
to just infinitely to step out of the horrible illusion of this material world.
Okay, to wake up and step out of the illusion of this material world. Good. That's nice mercy. But be careful. Yes.
Prabhupada's books.
Prabhupada's books, read or distribute or
And protection also
protection
through the Holy Name.
through the holy name. Good, good. These are, yes,
Chances for purification.
purification chances. We don't have to look for that. That will come without looking. Purification is always there. Mhm.
It's also far to think about that Prabhupada, he established ISKCON with these people who did not know what they were signing. And then,
Established ISKCON.
yeah, he established it, he created it 50 years ago, and then look at it today,
Mhm.
like what it is now.
Okay. Established 50 years ago and look at it today. Yeah, we will be doing that tomorrow. Going over the whole 50 years and see what has come in 50 years. Okay? Yes?
Freedom from pretense and doubt.
Wow, that's a high one. Freedom from pretense and doubt. That was last year's seminar on Shukadev's prayers for empowerment to speak. He was saying that those who worship you, they are free from pretense, free from pretension. Pretension, we discussed that. What it means to be free from pretension. Means you don't pretend. That's one of the meanings. One of the meanings. Free from pretension. Good. So y'all have a lot of ideas what to look for. And so for 2 days you can be open to the mercy, to receiving mercy. Look for it, and surely it will come to you. So, good. Now I will read verses 6 to 10, and we will join together on verse 11. 6 to 10 is the fate, you can see on your chart, fate of materialistic people who cannot see the Lord. That will be time. So verse 6, my Lord, the people of the world are embarrassed by all material anxieties. They're always afraid. They always try to protect wealth, body, and friends. They are filled with lamentation and lawful desires of paraphernalia, and they avariciously base their undertakings on the perishable conceptions of my and mine. As long as they do not take shelter of your safe lotus feet, they are full of such anxieties. So this is the problem of materialistic people. Prabhupada in the purport told the opposite, that how a devotee can be free from anxiety although living in this material world. So how to become free from anxiety? Why a devotee has no anxiety? Prabhupada says, because he doesn't think himself the proprietor. If you own something, then you're in anxiety. He surrenders everything to the control of the Lord, so he has no fear for maintaining his family, protecting the interests of his family. He has no longer any attraction for wealth. Even if there is attraction for wealth, it is not for sense enjoyment, but for service of the Lord. So Bhakti Thakur, he had a huge family, like 10 or 12 children. And what was his mentality? He studied his prayers. He said that these family members, they are all your servants, and it is my duty to maintain them. So that was his mentality. He said, I am the servant of your servants. We hear Lord Chaitanya says we should be servant of the servant. So that's how Bhaktivinoda Thakur saw his family. I am the servant of your servants. So verse 7, persons who are bereft of the all-auspicious performance of chanting and hearing about your transcendental activities are certainly unfortunate and are bereft of good sense. They engage in inauspicious activities, enjoying sense gratification for a very little while. So how long do they enjoy? This verse says, Kama, Sukha, Lesha, Lavaya. So Kama is the happiness of Kama is for a brief moment of happiness, and Lesha Lavaya, Lava means about 1/6 of a second. That much happiness, they're working hard. So very foolish, very foolish. For us, we are fortunate just if we get that much association with the pure devotee, our whole life is turned around. So we take it the other way. Just let me get a fraction of a moment of association with devotees. And this is one of my godbrothers, not my godbrother, yeah, one of my godbrothers in Europe, someplace. He was a boxer by profession, and he was coming to temple. And they said, why don't you just stay here and live with us? He said, no, I'm too attached to my boxing. So then Prabhupada came, and he stayed a few days, and then the last day Prabhupada was leaving, he got into his car, and there was a big crowd of devotees. That boxer was also there. He got pushed in the front, and his face was plastered on the window of Prabhupada's car. And Prabhupada was looking at him very sternly, and after that he came and he said, okay, I joined the temple now. I said, well, what about your boxing? I said, how can I go back to my boxing after a glance like that from Srila Prabhupada? The Prabhupada's glance, just his glance was enough to convince you that you should not go back to the material world, that you should not have any more pretense, that you should wake up.
Who was that?
I don't know his name. I don't know his name, but I heard the story. His name I don't know. Somewhere in Europe, but where in Europe I don't know also.
Germany.
Was it Germany? Okay. You remember?
German, I think I heard something.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, so there's memories of, it was probably in one of those memories of Prabhupada that I heard it. So yes, this is, we should look for that association of devotees. Now verse 8, here is the list of things that people are suffering for. Oh my Lord, all these poor creatures are constantly perplexed by hunger, thirst, severe cold, secretion, and bile, attacked by coughing winter, blasting summer, rains, and many other disturbing elements, and overwhelmed by strong sex urges and indefatigable anger. I take pity on them, and I'm very much grieved for them. So, have you experienced anything on this list? I think we maybe all of the above. Coughing, do you have coughing winter over here? I think that could be, I don't think you have blasting summer. I haven't not experienced that here. In India, if you go to Vrindavan in summer, 50 degrees, it's like being in an oven. When you go out, you feel singed, your eyelashes are singed, burnt. If you were there in summer, here winter must be cold, like that, and dark and dreary. Anyway, yeah, so this is the problems. He says, I take pity on them, and I'm very aggrieved for them. But Brahma, he doesn't have those problems up in Brahmaloka. But he's still feeling bad for those who have them, and so he wants to help. So Prabhupada says in the purport, unless the devotees of the Lord take pity on them and teach them the right path, their lives are hopeless failures. And those devotees who do preach, they are confidential to the Lord as Lord Brahma. And so, verse 9 and 10, oh my Lord, the material miseries are without factual existence for the soul. Yet as long as the conditioned soul sees the body is meant for sense enjoyment, he cannot get out of the entanglement of material miseries, being influenced by your external energy. Such non-devotees engage their senses in very troublesome and extensive work, and they suffer insomnia at night because their intelligence constantly breaks their sleep with various mental speculations. They are frustrated in all their various plans by supernatural power. Even great sages, if they are against your transcendental topics, must rotate in this material world. So, anybody here work in a factory before? When I was in Finland, everyone raised their hand. I said, whoa. How was that experience? It was, you wouldn't recommend that job? Boring. Yeah.
Boring and dirty.
And dirty, not a place for gentlemen.
Depressing.
Depressing, yeah, depressing. Yeah, these are our factories. They turn human beings into animals, almost, or machines, robots. Robots. You have to go with the machine, be a part of the machine. And so this is not one of my brothers, but Hari, he was working in a factory. He told Prabhupada, I was working in a steel factory. And it was so hellish. And I almost had a nervous breakdown. And Prabhupada said, yes, that's because in your last life you were all Brahmanas. Otherwise, how could you become Krishna conscious so quickly? Actually, my Guru Maharaj has ordered all of you to take birth to help me spread this mission. Now we are all together again. So we can say the same thing for you all, that Prabhupada has ordered all of you to take birth. And Denmark, and wherever you're from, I think mostly Denmark, I'm in the right country now. Somebody said Sweden when I was in Finland. So I have to be careful where I know where I am. Yes, we are in Denmark. And everybody here has been born mostly in Denmark, maybe India, a couple of you. Oh, not you. Where are you from?
From Belgium.
Belgium, okay, yeah, sorry. I don't know, that's quite a different place. So yes, but we have been ordered to help spread this mission. So verse 11 we do have together, and it's going to have another experience with our ears again. A beautiful verse. I will sing on line 3, 9, 11. You repeat after me. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavitari saroja.
Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavitari saroja.
Ase shite shitapata narana tapunsam.
Ase shute chitapato nanunata ponsam.
Yadyatiyata urugaya vibhavayanti.
Yadyatiyata urugaya vibhavayanti.
Tattva pranayase sadhanugrahaya.
Tattva pranayase sadhanugrahaya.
Oh my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears for the process of bona fide hearing, and thus the hearts become cleansed and you take your seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. So the Lord is already in our heart. What does it mean that He takes His seat there? Prabhupada says in the purport that the Lord manifests Himself in the form in which the devotee likes to worship Him, means that he becomes subordinate to the desire of the devotee. So much so, He manifests His form as the devotee demands. Isn't that nice? And so the Lord, He will satisfy our desire according to how we like to see Him. This is, everybody has a particular favorite form of the Lord. I won't ask you, but you can think of that. Who's your favorite form of the Lord? You don't have to tell. But this attachment, Prabhupada says, is called Sarup Siddhi. The Lord sits on the lotus heart of the devotee in the eternal form the devotee desires. So isn't that wonderful? We have our devotional service, we worship the deities, and we have Super Soul in our heart, but for the non-devotees it's Vishnu with the 4 hands. But for us, it can be Radha Krishna, it can be Gaura, it can be Jagannath, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman. According to our desire, that's who is our Super Soul. It's no longer Vishnu for us. Vishnu, He's impartial. He just gives what you deserve and desire. But Krishna, He doesn't give you, but He gives you much more than you deserve. And of the good things. The bad things, He gives you much less than you deserve. And the good things, He gives you much more. The happiness, He gives you more. And the devotional service. So therefore, that's why we worship the Lord in His beautiful forms of Gaura, Radha Krishna. So the last 4 verses for today, verses 12 to 14 on your chart. We don't have them in your verses. talking about different categories of living entities in this world and how Krishna deals with them, reciprocates. So the first verse 12, my Lord, you are not very much satisfied by the worship of the demigods, who arrange for your worship very pompously with various paraphernalia, but who are full of material hankerings. You are situated in everyone's heart as a super soul, just to show your causeless mercy. And you are the eternal well-wisher, but you are unavailable for the non-devotee. So Prabhupada explains in the purport, I think Krishna's cell phone is ringing here. Came from that side. Okay, so two kinds of devotees are described. The demigods, they are sakam devotees. They have material desires mixed with their service. So they are not as dear to the Lord as the nishkam devotees, who are the preachers. What's the difference between the sakam devotees and the nishkam devotees? The sakam devotees, they are selfish. They want something for themselves. Selfish. And the preachers, the pure devotees, are selfless. So Prabhupada, he didn't want anything going to America for himself. He wanted to give, selfless. He was selfless. And that's why people could not understand. He said, I have not come here to beg, because a lot of people, and especially in the 70s, they thought, oh, India is very poor and they're just all beggars. Prabhupada said, I did not come here to beg, I came here to give. So he was selfless. And some of his godbrothers were telling him, no, you cannot dress with your second dhoti, you cannot dress like this. You have to wear pants and shirt. And you cannot eat with your hands, you have to eat with fork and spoon. So he said, no, I will change them, I will not change myself. I will make them wear dhoti and kurta, and they will eat with their hands. Of course, now we've gone back to spoons and forks, that's okay, not a problem, but I'm so trained that I cannot, it's very hard for me to do that. One of my friends, her daughter, she was born in the movement, and she went to visit her grandmother in the United States. And she was eating with her hands, and her grandmother kept trying to make her eat with her fingers. And so finally she said, okay, if you want to eat with your fingers, I'll give you some ice cream. Let's see how you eat with your fingers. But then she had to use a spoon. But anyway, somehow we have that training. But so Nishkam and Sakam, the Nishkam devotees, Prabhupada said, are pure devotees who take the missionary responsibility of turning non-devotees into pure devotees, and so they can satisfy the Lord more. The example we have is of Yamaraj, the Lord of Death. He had so much, he's really bogged down in management of all the sinful people and judging them. So he came to this earth as Vidura to preach. He got away from the management and the heavenly planets, actually in the hellish planets. His place is heavenly, but he has to work near the hellish planets and send everybody for punishment. And so he came as Vidura to preach, and he was protecting the devotees, he was protecting the Pandavas, and he was helping them in all cases. And so the difference between the demigods and the pure devotees, we can see in Krishna Lila. When Krishna was coming home from herding the cows at the end of the day, then he was on the way he was getting detained by the demigods offering their prayers, and he was kind of really casual with his arm around his friend and just waiting for them to finish. And he couldn't wait to get back home, and this is, all right, demigods, let me go. Enough. He couldn't wait to get back to his mother and father and to see the gopis who are waiting for him. So Krishna, he says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, my beloved consort reproaches me in a sulky mood. That steals my mind from the reverent hymns of the Vedas.
Sulky means?
Sulky